Hey, dreams do come true.
Hey, we're already
Hey,
recording. We thought we'd
Dominic.
surprise you.
I'm back.
Wow, dreams
I'm
do come
back.
true. Wow, Dominic.
Happy Monday, Mike.
I just
Happy
got
Monday.
I just got locked into my room because I thought I was too noisy. Whatever. It's called joy.
What are those crutches on the wall behind you?
Crutches.
No, sorry. They look like crutches, though how you were saying. I thought maybe something happened to
No, that's
you.
called art in the Sotheby's North Loop locale. See the
Look
look
like
at look at that.
nice.
Very
See?
nice.
So
I'm sitting I'm sitting under the crystals.
our long lost child is back. He
I
came back.
know. Dominic, you're a sight for sore eyes. Good to see
Well, I
you.
appreciate that. It's good to see
How
you
you
guys as well.
been?
Oh, I've been busy but good. Life's been throwing me no shortage of surprises, but we're back here and that's what matters the most.
There you go. So
Yeah.
do you guys like my brick background or my blue background better?
Brick.
I kind of like the half-half.
Yeah, that's
Ooh, okay,
nice.
I'll just sit like this.
It's like
Yeah.
a Americano latte, but not really. So podcast 30.
Yeah, 3-0.
All right, so Dominic probably doesn't know, but Mike, you do a really cool thing every year, and I think a lot of agents can maybe learn from it. You do a
Yeah.
client appreciation.
Yes, I do.
Want to give us a 2 to 3 minute rundown of it?
Yes. I host a client appreciation event um, at on the Jonathan Paddleford, which is a paddle-driven riverboat, very Mark Twain-ish, I guess, on the Mississippi River. It goes out of the Harriet Island area. I send invitations to people via email for that have done transactions with me, either buyers or sellers, and I've even opened it up to people that have sent me a referral that is closed. And I have a dinner on board, and I have learned to do the captain's menu, which is prime rib or chicken and salad and cheesecake. And I have an open bar because I realized it was actually less expensive for people not giving them tickets, but just if they order a drink, I get billed. If they want something like pop, it's free anyway. So anyway, and we went people start showing up around 6. They get to come on board. We blow the whistle and head out onto the river at 6:30, and we came back by 9. And we've had good weather, we've had crappy weather, we've had stormy weather, we've had okay weather, but everybody has an absolute blast. And I also get sponsorships from vendors like lenders and title companies. And we do all the RESPA cards to identify who has helped. And I thank everybody because it's because of them that I can do it. And the other thing is we give away some door prizes, and people sign in with their name and their address and their email, and it goes into a bowl. And we have a little kid on on the boat pick it out, and it's really super fun.
Is the kid rented? Like, does he come with the boat or is it somebody's kid?
No, last we did this on September 4th, which was a Thursday, and I had 65 adults and 7 kids on board.
Oh, so you chose one of
And
the kids.
and one of the little kids, I just said, please come up to the front because I had a microphone. And
That's great.
so yeah.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
All right. So Dominic, let's go back to you. You're like maybe the financial whiz of the three. The
Mm.
Fed's meeting on Wednesday. What do you think?
It seems, I mean, looking at a lot of the betting markets online, it seems like we are almost a guarantee to get some sort of rate cut. I think the speculation at this point is whether it's a quarter or a half a point. So I think I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but I think a quarter point is probably almost locked in at this point. Maybe we'll see upwards of a half a point. So hopefully that's kind of good news, and we'll see the market kind of react towards the end of the week here.
I looked at two websites that I trust, and they had 6.47, and the other one had 6.29
Are you talking about mortgage?
interest rate. Yeah, mortgage rates as of today.
Because what
I
I've
think
learned is that when the Fed makes a cut, it's not attached to the mortgage rate. So it could, I mean, mortgage rates might go down. They can even go up or they can stay the same. Can you expand on that, Dominic?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard this. I mean, talking to a few of our lender partners, they've basically said the same thing that just because the Fed is cutting rates does not guarantee, that the mortgage rates are going to follow suit. I think in
Hmm.
a lot of cases they tend to lag, but they will kind of directionally head the same way in most cases. Um, so I think because the Fed rate is typically the 10-year rate that people are looking at, mortgages obviously being, 20, 30 years in most cases, those rates are not subject to the same type of market speculation, given their longer duration, the fact that they're backed up with home assets and not just based on liquidity. So I think I do think we'll see mortgage rates start to follow suit. Maybe not be same day, but over the course of the next quarter or so, going into the next year. I would speculate that mortgage rates will start to come down even in a bit from where they're at now, and I think we're at kind of seasonal lows right now for the last 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, what I was just listening to a guy, and he was saying that one of the reasons when the Fed cuts by a quarter, a quarter, a quarter, that traditionally, like Dominic was saying, the interest rates kind of flatline for a little bit and then they adjust. If you were to go to just a half right off the bat, anytime the Fed has done that, the mortgage rates have actually gone up before they came back down. So, from my understanding, is the Fed interest rates have more to do with non-collateral loans. So it has to do more with credit or credit cards, stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I think it's going to be kind of exciting to see what Jerome does and see where we go. But I'm reaching back to buyers. I'm reaching back to buyer agents that have shown properties that are at a high price point because they looked at it. It was 6.9. I looked back at some of the purchase agreements that we didn't accept. They write on the purchase agreement or the lender letter says that the client is at 7.1. If they can get them now at 6.5, 6.6, that's a heck of a savings for a buyer per month. So
I think I even saw there was maybe an uptick in mortgage refinancing too for people that had locked in mortgages at the higher point of 7 plus. That there's some savings there even now for those folks.
yeah, I think the refi has been dead in the water for the longest time, and now I think there's going to be an uptake. So, do you remember a couple of years ago? I thought it was really interesting that the lenders got to a point where they filled their buckets with refi, and they were like, "We budgeted out, we were going to do this many. We're there, we're done. We're not going to do anymore." I thought that was very interesting. If the whole idea is that these lending companies make money, that they get to a point and say, we've done it. Makes you wonder, how much they actually get on some of that versus a traditional mortgage versus a refi mortgage versus a HELOC, whatever. So,
Hmm.
Mike, what are you,
Yes.
what?
Yes.
What are
Woo-hoo!
you seeing in your lovely neck of St. Paul other than traffic cones everywhere?
Oh, I'm so sick of traffic cones. Um, are you talking about my
Your
real estate
business. Yeah.
business?
Yeah.
I, right now, I'm a little frustrated right now because well, I've got five listings. One is currently under contract, moving towards closing day, but four active listings, two of which are condos, two of which are townhouses. And I am not seeing that much activity in that sector. I had a $300,000 property that I put on the market about 6, 8 weeks ago over on the east side, and wham, it was gone in a hot second. That was a single family property. And so I'm just kind of intrigued that the townhouse slash condo market is slow. I'm watching my colleagues at Sotheby's over here in Minneapolis put luxury properties on the market and poof, they're gone. And it's making me think that maybe the whole activity is in these higher price points and not in the 300, 350 area. Thoughts?
I don't know if I have a great thought on that because I don't currently have, I mean, I have land and I have single families. So I don't have that condo slash townhouse. I will say that we had a slight tick in land showings,
Mm-hmm.
land offers, and now that went away. I don't know
Hmm.
if that went away with the weather again. I mean, the day you were doing your little 3 hour tour on your Gilligan's Island
I know, my three
thing,
hour tour, and
it
it
was
got,
cold. I had turned the
I
furnace on.
know.
You and I were talking. I turned my furnace on. Now the air conditioning's back on.
I was so sad because it was like all of a sudden we had that little blip of cold weather and rainy weather, and it was chilly. It was like 60 degrees out there on the river, but and now, yeah, now it's like hot again. And yesterday I was at the Edina car show by the Edina Rotary on 50th in France, and it was hot, but fun.
Yeah, my son had an 8 p.m. kickoff football game the other night in Minnetonka. At kickoff, 79 degrees at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I
Very nice.
love that kind of weather.
Yeah,
I'm
we
so
were.
not a fall winter person. I love the heat and I know.
It's just funny watching them as the players get going. When we played in the cold the week before, everyone long sleeves, socks were up. They were trying to be as beachy as possible. Socks were down, pants were up, sleeves were gone, and they were just, anytime they could get their helmet off, they were just smoking hot. Um, so I don't have a great feel of it. I do know we have a lot of properties right now that are pretty getting up there in some days on market. Um,
Me too.
and it's hard for us sometimes because some of these are some pretty rural settings. I
Mhm.
don't know how much people want to be on a dirt road sometimes. I don't know how much people need a 40 versus a 20 versus a 10-acre property. I don't know necessarily um, if it's price per se, but then when we get some other houses that are in town or at a different price, they go relatively fast and they
Mhm.
go sometimes multiple offers. So
So I've been asking, so we have to be creative, and at the same time, we have to remember there's three things that tell houses: location, price, and condition. And we can only control price and condition. And I have to keep reminding myself that the market for housing is like the stock market. It's always moving, and you have to just keep thinking about it in those terms. And if a person wants to move, I mean, they have to do certain things. And
I saw a
what?
funny post that it was kind of an FYI to future clients. And it says, if you're a buyer,
Mm.
it's not 2008. If you're a
No,
seller, it's not 2020 and COVID.
no.
Right.
And in a
I'm,
roundabout way, if you looked at it, it was kind of a flippant post, right?
yeah.
Because he was saying it was a he was saying, well, my clients aren't they're not realizing it, but what it was really saying was, if you want to be a client right now, you owe it to yourself to ask your agent, whether it's him or somebody else, why is it not 2008? Why is it not 2020? And if you're a buyer, what does 25 look like? If you're a seller, what does fall 25 look like? I thought that was a great.
I think it's clear to me that I'm seeing on the MLS, there are many price reductions happening, and that hasn't happened in a long time.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I'm sensing that the buyers have a little bit more leverage on the seller than they once did. So if your property isn't selling and it's in a great location and it's in great condition and it's not selling, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the market changed and it could literally just be price. And you have to go into a different bracket. And that's a hard conversation to have, but it needs to be had.
The other thing too is, well, there's a couple things there. I don't know necessarily how this is going to come out, but in a roundabout way, it seems like everyone's a little Minnesota nice.
Yes.
And no one wants to offend the seller by writing an offer. We had a situation where we had quite a bit of activity and then it went stale.
Hmm.
We dropped the price and somebody came back and waived all their contingencies. They were going to write at a different price point. They had all these contingencies, and we did a very subtle price change,
Hmm.
and they jumped at it and dropped everything. And what was funny was, I think if they would have wrote there originally, they probably would have got it. So we ended up where probably the property should have been, right?
Hmm.
But the buyer didn't. They wanted to come in at ask price, but they wanted a ton of different things. And when it would have shucking out, this is where
It's
I need,
not, it's not shooken, I can tell you that for sure.
this is where we need Taylor Swift. Um,
Is it shaked? Is it shaken? But it's not shooken.
do shake a Polaroid. Oh yeah. Anyways, wherever it's shuck out, it
Shuck.
it probably was appropriate for where it was. And I guess the moral is, boy, that buyer might have gotten beat out by somebody for a very small amount of money, right? That if they were willing to come in with the price they did, with the offer they did, they should have probably just reached for it the first time.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't think to your point, Mike, when do you have to have that conversation with the seller? I think you do, but I think you don't necessarily need to come in with a scalpel. It doesn't
No,
need to be a 50 or $100,000 price break.
right.
That's where I look at percentages,
Hmm.
right?
So I have a question for you guys then, because I noticed sometimes when I'm having listing appointments, sellers tend to want to list at a higher price than they know it's going to sell for, because
Hmm.
they assume a buyer is going to want to negotiate.
That's
My
such a
advice
bad
is
idea.
my advice is always to sell at a the market value, but where would you accept an offer? You know, you don't have to accept an offer that's less than what you're asking. Like, how do you guys handle those conversations? Because it seems like, especially for a portion of my business, it's up in this kind of seasonal recreational village where there's
Hmm.
that mindset where I know the buyer's going to ask for 5 grand or more off of what I'm asking for,
Hmm.
but then there's no activity until we actually bring the price down to closer to where we're actually going to get a deal done. So it's I always give the same advice, but sometimes they take it, sometimes they don't. And I'm just curious how you guys handle that conversation.
Well, I was thinking about that today as I was driving in. So thank you for bringing up that question because I am going to have this conversation with some folks, and I'm going to say, ask if you received an offer of X today, would you accept that offer? And if the answer is yes, then I'm going to say, then that's the price we need to change it to.
Yeah.
Period.
I think so, Dominic, more like on the listing. I think you, as a seller, lose any and all negotiation with that strategy because you don't create the opportunity to instead of them getting the buyer getting something under contract in day one, day two, day three, they're getting it on
Mhm.
13, 17, 18, right? So that
Right.
big flurry is gone.
Mhm.
Number two is the data clearly shows that by having a price drop, you're going to get less for your house overall. Number three is I just think that that's a really odd strategy because so if the person's saying, "Look, I'll take 400, but I want to come on at 475," whatever,
Hmm.
random pick a price. I'm like, "Look, let's just come on at 400, and if your theories are going to come in 50 to 75 under, they write at 350. You know what your answer is? No.
Right.
But in the meantime, you're going to get showing, you're going to get activity, and you're going to hopefully get some leverage to get that 350 person up to 399, 400. I just think it's a terrible way. It's kind of that garage sale. On Thursday, it's $10, but
Right.
Sunday it's free,
Yeah,
right?
but you know what, Dave? If you also with that same
What did you call
property
me? Dive?
dive,
You kind of
no,
shook in my feelings.
whatever, grow some. Um, so with that same house, if you come on at 400 and you have 5 or 6 showings on day one, and you get an offer on day two for 400, and you go under contract and you sell, and the agent or the seller looks at you and they say, well, this sold too fast. We didn't ask enough money. It's like, no, you sold it because you put it at market value. You had 6 showings, you had one offer, and it was at 400, and boom, you're done.
Do you like the comment about if it's underpriced, they will push it up?
Yeah, because I've seen it happen. I
Absolutely.
have
Yeah.
literally seen it happen. And um and to add another layer to that, I want to take my house off the market over the holiday season. No, you don't. Because not only did I see it happen when we reduced the price just a little bit, we got multiple offers and it put it back up to where we wanted it to be. And it all happened on December 23rd.
I just, so much of it has to do with the seller, right? The seller that's more likely in Dominic's scenario is probably one that doesn't have to sell. It's not the one that wants to take that cash and do something else.
Mhm.
And, it'd be a really interesting statistic to see the people like days on market versus motivation. And not that
Right.
motivation drives the price down, but the people that want to buy another house or want to be in before a school starts, something along those lines. And I think what's more important is motivation, days on market, but price. If you came on at X, did you get X plus? And I bet you there's a huge correlation there between those three. The other thing is, I've noticed that when I have the conversations of at market, above market, below market, I think I need to spend a lot more time explaining the strategy of pricing it below market. I think when people think over market, 400,000, let's go at 475. Market is 400. I don't, when I say below market, I don't mean 350, 325. It might be a 375, might be a 389.
It might be a 395.
Right. Just
Right.
something below that price.
Do you think there's any, and this is speculation, but like for someone that's selling a primary residence versus someone that's selling like a seasonal home or a cabin where, like, to your point, maybe timing doesn't matter as much. They're
Right.
just trying to extract the cash. Like, I would be curious to see, how that data plays out with time on market and motivations.
I don't have
Yeah.
much experience in that to know. I mean, I've sold a lake house over in Wisconsin a few years ago, and it was in the fall. Um, but it was still the same the same conversation. You just
Yeah.
overpricing is your worst nightmare, and um, picking the proper price is your best marketing tool because you want to get the most eyes on it. Hey guys, before we run out of time, can I share another observation?
Your show, man.
Well, no, I'm a try host,
We
but
changed the name.
I did.
No, I never. Keep going.
I just really want to talk about open houses because there's so many people on social media, realtors on social media that just say open house is bad, open house is bad, open house is bad. It has nothing to do with selling your property. It's just, the realtor getting to get more clients for him or herself. Right now, I have such a strong belief that open houses are more important than ever before, especially because of the new environment that we are in, where buyers need to be under a buyer representation agreement for you to bring them into a property. And I am noticing, talking to the people that are coming into open houses, that that's why they're going to open houses because they don't necessarily want to be under a contract with an agent to see a property and they're looking for an agent that they want to see. And I just think right now, open houses are so important to let people into that property that don't have a buyer representation agreement. And I had this conversation so many times over this past weekend when I did open houses. And this one couple was actually complaining that they had to go under a contract with Agent A to see this property, and then they tore it up immediately after it was done. And I said, I understand that, and I've done that too. But I'm going to explain why that is. And by the time I got done explaining what the buyer representation agreement was all about, they were like, well, thank you for explaining what that was and how you can help me in this and that. And I said, well, was that more of a clear explanation other than just sign this contract so I can get you in? They were like 100%. And they said, please give us your card.
Yeah, that's great.
Just tell people why.
Yeah.
Just just tell people why. And don't be cute and sweet and change the name to make it not sound like a commitment. I mean, bullshit. It's a buyer representation agreement. It's a contract. It allows me to represent you and write an offer for you on this property. Without this, we can't do that. It's like stop being cute and calling it, whatever it's not. It's a buyer representation agreement. It's a contract.
I think it weeds out unserious buyers in some capacity, where people that aren't, who don't want to have representation or to go through even the discussion of what it entails, tells me that they're not that serious about making a purchase.
But could you, this is where that argument comes in because of some of the stupidity of NAR. Can you imagine
Well,
if you wanted to look at a car, or you're going to go to the liquor store to buy a bottle of bourbon, and the guy, it reminds me when um, uh, um, a sporting goods store moved in here that the salespeople used to get commission. So they all ran around with stickers. And if I had a pair of socks in my hand, a guy would come up and put a sticker on the sock. Because then when it got scanned, he got commission. I mean, but could you imagine us as consumers? Granted, we're not buying an expensive house, but imagine if we had to sign representation to buy a car, buy paint, buy Diet Coke.
well, yeah. Imagine if every single retail center across the United States became either Sam's Club or Costco, and you could only get into that store if you bought a membership. Baloney.
Right. So I think where it pays
No,
out
NAR
is
hosed up big.
what?
I think NAR hosed up big.
Oh, gotcha. That's what I thought you said, but in my
I
head
know
it
it
came out
wasn't
as
very
one long word.
professional.
That's all right.
NAR hosed up big. How's that?
Good. I think that's a good slogan. All right. Well, we want to stay under a half hour. Dominic, will 31 be in the realm or to be determined?
Yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back.
Yeah, and Dominic looked like he's been running, lifting, eating salads. Look at
I need to
you.
get back in the gym.
Look
And
at
if
you.
people are excited about babies, you should like and subscribe because we may have some baby news. Maybe live footage from a hospital soon. We'll keep it.
That's great. We'll be live
Oh,
streaming.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll be live. I'm
we're on the
sure that will go
official
over well. So,
official countdown.
yeah. All right. See y'all. Go Vikes and Seahawks and Browns.